Hi everybody, Patrick here from Engineering Shock Electronics, engineeringshock.com. This is the official video manual for the IR-XY linear actuator and maglock controller board. Thanks to all of the Kickstarter pledges, your rewards have shipped out. And so first things first, before I do anything, I'm going to talk about the board, and I'm going to just give you a description of all of the hardware, starting with this is where you plug in power. You have the option of using the power jack or a power terminal. The power terminal is labeled V plus and G and D. So positive voltage goes into V plus and DC ground goes into the G and D terminal. But all of the rewards that included a DC power adapter came with one, so you just plug it in right here. Now there's two jumpers here. There's the enable jumper and the 5-volt jumper. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm actually going to get to that last. Let me talk about the, this is the infrared sensor for an infrared remote control. It's rated for 38 kilohertz. IR remotes. This is the microphone. Light sensor. This is the NRF24L01 Plus connector, where you'd plug this in, and that's so that we can transmit wirelessly to this board. There are 5 3-pin headers here. This one is labeled MIC-LDR. So if you have mic selected, you'd short the middle and bottom pins, labeled MIC. And if you wanted to select a light sensor, you'd short LDR. Now we'll go through all of these jumper selections as we go along. We are not using the S1 jumper or the S4 jumper. If you want, you can manipulate the code to implement those if you wish. All we care about are the S2 and S3 jumpers. And again, I'll get to those as we go along. We've got our green LED and a red LED. Green is for forward. Red is back for backwards. That's mainly for the linear actuator. We've got our control FETs right here. They don't really matter too much. We've got our reset button labeled RST. We've got our S2 button, so select 2, and our S1 button, and those will help us either control the linear actuators or maglocks manually, or we'll use it to select the program. Okay, so we've got another jumper here, a little 2-pin header here, and another one hidden here. And if we want to use our maglocks, we'd use a jumper, an included jumper, and we'd short both of those. And that is so that we can use maglocks over the linear actuator. Now if you're using the linear actuator, you can't use the maglocks, in which case you have to remove those jumpers, or else your linear actuator will not work properly. So now we've got our 3 output terminal blocks. So let me show you those. This is where we connect our linear actuator, and again, if we do that, we want to make sure that this header is not shorted, or this one, and if these are where our maglocks connect. So there's AC1 and AC2. Connect your brown wire to AC1 and your blue wire to AC2. And if you have the maglocks connected, make sure that both of these headers are shorted with a jumper. And we've got room for 2 different maglocks, and they're labeled mag minus and mag plus. Mag minus, you'd connect the black wire of your maglock, and mag plus your red wire, and that goes for both of these headers. So we're going to connect everything as we go along. First things first, I'm going to go through the demonstrations on the linear actuator. Then I'm going to remove the linear actuator. I'm going to go through all of the examples with the maglocks. Now, for most of you, you're going to want to keep both of these 2-pin headers shorted. And what that does is it allows for you to use one power supply to power the digital electronics, and also power your linear actuator and maglocks. However, if you're going to use a maglock that requires too much power, it has to be 12 volts, it's not rated for 24 volts, then you're going to want to remove this jumper and power your linear actuator manually. Same with the 5-volt line. If you wanted to separate 5 volts and add your own 5-volt line, you can do that. But for all intents and purposes, you're just going to want to keep those headers jumped. Now, your kit, your board, as you get it, is not going to have those shorted. It's going to come with 7 jumpers. So the first thing you're going to want to do is short these 2 jumpers. And of course, you're going to want to take your NRF24L01 Plus, and you're going to want to plug it in. And to do that, you just want to make sure that all 8 pins fit in nicely. Double check it. You don't want to power this up if it's not properly inserted. The capacitor to the left just ensures that there's going to be no noise on the line. It shouldn't need it, but I have a capacitor on the board on the 3-volt line here, but it likes having a capacitor right on those leads. Looks a little sloppy, but it's better to have it. You'll get a better transmission. So first things first, I'm going to want to connect my linear actuator to this terminal block. And I want to make sure that both of these headers do not have a jumper on them. Just like that. Now, if you pledge towards a reward that had a linear actuator, you'll get a 12 volt 10 amp power supply. And you plug it into the wall, and then you've got your 12 volt output that plugs into the IRXY. If you're just using maglocks, you would have been shipped, depending on your reward tier, a 12 volt 2 amp adapter. So either of them, they both have the same jack, they both plug into the main board. And for this demonstration, just to make things simple, I'm going to use this. It comes with a separate plug. The plug plugs into your AC outlet and into the linear actuator, or sorry, into the 10 amp power supply, and we're ready to power our board. For the first program, we're going to use a remote control to power our linear actuator or drive it. And so what we've got here is we've got our mic/LDR jumper. Right now, it doesn't matter which state that's in. It doesn't even need to be connected if you don't want it to. S3 should be selected, set to B. Now, right here, you'll see A/B. So A means from this perspective that you have the jumper shorting the middle and left pin. B would be middle and right pin. So S3 right here is selecting B, and S2 is selecting A. Now, for all of these tests for the linear actuator, we're going to keep S3 at B, but we're going to play around with S2. Right now, it's set to A. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to power up. I'm going to teach the board 2 signals from the remote control, and then I'm going to drive the linear actuator. Okay, so I'm going to press the reset button because I'm already in another program. Reset RST, and immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to press S2, which selects program 0. So I'll press S2, and the red LED turns on. So I'm going to press volume plus, and the IR sensor will pick it up. And then I'm going to press volume minus. And then the LEDs will blink. So I'm going to now press volume up. And the red LED will turn on for a predetermined amount of time. In the code, and as you can see, the linear actuator is pushing out. And once it's all the way out, the red LED will turn off, and I can press volume minus to retract it. So I'll skip ahead. It's all the way out. I'll wait for the red LED to turn off. It's off. Now I will press volume minus. And the green LED turns on. Sorry, it's on right now. It's hard to see. And it'll retract. And once it's fully retracted, the green LED will turn off. And I can do that as I see fit. So now I'm going to stop the video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the S2 jumper to B. So S3 will remain at B. And S2 will be switched from A to B, and this will change how the infrared works on in this specific program. So I'm going to reset. I'm going to switch S2 to A, or sorry, to B. So now S3 and S2 are at B. I'll reset again just for good measure, and I'm going to press S2 to select IR mode. And I'm going to program it again. So volume plus, volume minus, and it's selected. So now I'm going to press volume plus, and as you'll notice, it's now pushing out, but the red LED turned off. So now if I press volume minus, I can interrupt it. I can change it as it's going. So I can change the direction on the fly. Whereas when I had S2 set to A, I had to wait. You couldn't do anything until it was fully out or fully retracted. So then now I can change it on the fly, and it'll just keep going out or being pushed back in until I change direction. So you have that option. All the way out or all the way in, or you can change on the fly. So now that that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to retract it all the way, and we're going to check the next program. Alright, now we're going to play with the light-dependent resistor. And in this program, we're going to leave the jumpers the exact same. We're going to have S2 and S3 both set to B, and we're going to select LDR on the mic/LDR jumper. So if I had it set to A, essentially, the middle and left, I would be selecting the microphone. We'll do that next. So I'm going to leave the jumper settings the exact same, and we're going to use the light-dependent resistor to drive the linear actuator. So I'm going to reset, and I'm going to wait a second. Now I'm going to press S1. I'm going to press S1 one time, and the red LED will light up saying, okay, we've incremented into a different program. S1. Now I'm going to press S2 to select it. And what you'll notice is right away, this starts to go out. What if I cover the board? If I cover the board, you probably can't see that. If I cover the light sensor, so lights out, it pulls in. Lights out, or lights on, it pushes all the way out. So darkness is in, and light is out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it all the way in, I'm going to reset it, and I'll show you how to clap on, clap off. Exact same jumper settings, with exception to now we're selecting mic. So middle and left. So I'm going to reset. I'm going to wait a second. I'm going to press S1 once. Red LED will turn on, and then off, and I'm going to press S2. And automatically it knows that it's not looking at the light sensor, it's looking at the microphone, automatically. So, one clap. You might have noticed that the red light on the LED went on, the red LED went on, but nothing happened. One clap. Two claps, and we go out. Two claps, we go in. So, two claps, although you can, a really loud noise, you can change the sensitivity in the program if you want, but two claps will bring it all the way out, unless I stop it. At this point, I can stop it by doing two more claps, or I can let the linear actuator push all the way out first. It's up to you, as you see fit. Alright, so that's easy enough, right? I'm going to pull it back in, because I don't want for it to be all the way out for the next program. Okay, so the next program is receive. So we're going to use an NRF24L01 Plus Arduino shield to wirelessly control the linear actuator. Okay, so for this, there will be sample code at the project page for the Kickstarter pledges. Load your Arduino Uno with that sample code for the NRF24L01 Arduino shield, and then plug in your shield. Line up the pins on the bottom and the top. Should pop right in. And good. That's all you need to do. You don't need to worry about the buttons. You don't need to worry about the dip switch. Just load the code. And what that code's going to do is, as soon as you plug it in, it's going to transmit the forward command, and it's going to wait 48 seconds. And from there, it's going to transmit the backward command, and it's going to wait 48 seconds, and it's just going to loop. Very simple code. Play around with it as you'd like. One thing about the IRXY is that after receiving a transmission, codes tells the NRF unit to turn off until the linear actuator is all the way out, and before it becomes active again. And the reason for that is that I found this weird abnormality with the NRF24L01 Plus, where for some reason it would just consume a tremendous amount of current even while the linear actuator was on. And then once it was turned off, the NRF24L01 Plus would still consume that much current. So to counter that, what I did was I waited for it to receive a command. I turn off the module. I activate the linear actuator. When it's done, I turn the NRF back on and wait for the next command. And so make sure that everything's plugged in properly. The jumper selections are the exact same as before. The mic LDR jumper doesn't matter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up by pressing S1 twice, and then S2, and that will start us up in receive mode. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to plug in my NRF unit over here. Now, if the NRF24L01 Plus shield can't communicate with the IRXY board, the red LED will stay on. It's transmitting when it's on, and once it's received and acknowledged from the IRXY, the LED will turn off. So what will happen is I'll plug it in, we'll see some communication on this LED, and then we'll hear the linear actuator go out. And after 48 seconds, the transmitter will transmit again. So you can play around with the code as you see fit. It's a very simple program, very easy to establish. Thanks for those of you who decided to pledge extra for the 24L01 Plus shield. You can also do it yourself. It's just transmitting just a couple numbers. Very simple, and if you're feeling creative, you can manipulate the code to transmit to several different linear actuators if you see fit. So the linear actuator is all the way out, and shortly we'll see another communication on the LED. I'll just wait for it. There we go. As you can see, very quick communication. And now the linear actuator is being pulled all the way back in. Okay, so I'm going to reset, and we're going to go into linear actuator buttons only mode. And for that, I'm going to press S1 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I'll press S2. And now we're in buttons only mode. Sorry about that. I'm going to press S1, and that does nothing because it's already all the way in. If I press S2 and I hold it and I let go, it'll stop. I hold it and stop, let go. If I press S1, it pulls it all the way back in. So it's manual control. Now, if I switch S2 to A, what I can do is I can make it so that I press a button, it goes all the way out. I press a button, the other button, it goes all the way in. But you can switch it on the fly. So what I'm going to do is I'll zoom back out, and I'll set it up again. So I'll reset, press S1 3 times, 1, 2, 3, press S2, and now if I press S1, it goes in, the limit switch stopped it because it's all the way in. If I press S2, it will go out on its own all the way, but I can stop it by pressing S1. So I don't have to hold it. If I had S2 set to B, as long as I was holding a button, it would move. As soon as I let go, it would stop. In this one, I can make it go all the way out, or I can stop it on the fly and bring it all the way back in. So that's it for the linear actuator. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the linear actuator, and I'm going to add those two jumpers so we can start playing with some mag locks. Alright, some changes. First, before we connect our mag locks, I've added two jumpers here and here, and what I've done is I've switched S3 from B to A, and we're going to leave it on A for the entirety of the next set of tests, because A, if you set it to A, you're telling the board that you're talking to mag locks. If you have it set to B, you're telling it that you are talking to a linear actuator. So make sure that S3 is set to A for this test. I've got two mag locks. One just happens to have a red and white wire. The other has a red and black wire. Black is negative. White is negative. Red is positive. So make sure to wire your red wire into mag positive, mag plus, and your either white or black into mag minus. Alright, back to infrared mode. Let's set S2 and S3 to A, and just leave S3 on A. I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to set it up with our infrared remote control. First things first, I need to press S2 right away. No, not pressing S1, and the red LED will light up. We'll program in our remote control V+, and then wait, and now V-. And right off the bat, both mag locks are deactivated. So I'll press I'll press V+, and which one? This one is now deactivated. This one is now activated. This one is now deactivated. And if I press mag minus, it switches. Now this one is activated, and this one is deactivated. So I'll toggle it again. And this one is activated. I'll toggle. And so you can have it in toggle mode. Right now this is set up for toggle mode according to the jumpers. If I connect S2 to B, we can reverse this. So I'm actually going to reset, and that will deactivate both mag locks. And I'm going to set S2 to B. And I'm going to select immediately, I'm going to select program 1 by pressing S2, not pressing S1 at all. And as you can see, both mag locks are still deactivated. I have to reprogram the IR plus, V plus. You don't have to use V plus and volume plus and volume minus. I'm just using it for the sake of the test. I can use 1 and 2, whatever you like. And so both are deactivated. And I pressed volume minus, which means open, so it didn't do anything. If I press volume plus, both become activated. Sorry, I'm not trying to block the camera. If I press V plus, or sorry, V minus, both deactivate. If I press V plus, both activate. And again, V minus will deactivate them. V plus activates, V minus deactivates. So now they're not toggling. Both of them are behaving the same as one another, whereas when we had S2 set to A, they would toggle states. But now this is set for if you want to have one door with 2 mag locks. This is how you'd want to set it up with IR. So now let's talk about LDR mode and clap mode. Okay, S3 will remain on A, S2 will remain on B, and we've got our mic selected, MIC, not LDR. So I'm going to zoom back out. And we're going to plug it in and we're going to select program 2. So I'm going to wait a second. Both mag locks are off, and I'm going to press S1 once, and I'm going to press S2, and immediately it's going to recognize the microphone. And so 2 claps. And 2 more. And they both deactivate. 2 more. Within the time frame that the LED is on. That did it. Again. Off. On. Off. So what I'll do now is I will switch S2 to A. And I'll do that while I've got the camera on, because it's easy. I can do it on the fly, but I don't like doing it on the fly while it's running a program. So I'll press S1 once, and then I'll S2. So that one's activated, and this one's not. This one is not, and this one is. So it toggles. It's the same thing, just based on the jumpers. You can have them both act the same way, or you can have them toggle states. So now that we've done that, let's play around with our NRF24L01 Plus shield again. Before I get ahead of myself, let's switch the mic/LDR jumper to B, or LDR. So now we can actually use our light sensor, which is right hiding behind the NRF24L01 Plus. We're going to use light and dark to control our mag locks. So I'll zoom back out, power it up, and again we've got S2 and S3 on A. We've selected LDR here, and I'll press S1 once, and then S2. And by default, this one turns on, and this one is off. So I'll and that's because of the light situation. There's a light on the LDR. So this one is on, this one is off. So if I put my hand over the LDR, this one is now on, and this one is off. Neat, huh? And now this one is off because I've exposed light to it, and this one is on. So if I unplug and I switch S2 to B, again I can do this on the fly, I just don't want to. Plug it back in, wait a second, press S1 once, and then S2 to select light/mic mode, and they are both on, and once I cover the light sensor, both are off, and they will remain off until I expose them to light again. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, so now I'm going to unplug, and I'm going to set up the NRF24L01 Plus shield. Because we don't want for the mag locks to toggle state, we're just going to leave S2 on B. Of course, S3 will remain on A because we're working with the mag locks. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the unit up for so that we're in receive mode. The receive program, so I'll power it up, and I'll press S1 twice, and then I'll press S2, and now we're in receive mode. And by default, both of the mag locks are off. I'll plug in my NRF24L01 Plus, same program, transmitting, and now both mag locks are activated. I'll skip ahead the 48 seconds because it's still using the exact same program, which you can modify as I mentioned, and it'll send another pulse which will turn these off after 48 seconds. And there we go, it was sent, and both pop off. Now I don't want to beat a dead horse, but let's switch S2 back to A, and this will put us back into our toggle states mode. So what I'm going to do is I've still got my NRF24L01 Plus working. Don't know where it's at in program, so I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to plug this back in. I'm going to set it up for receive mode. 1, 2, and then S2. Now we're in receive mode, and we'll toggle states. So I'll plug it in the transmitter. It's transmitted. That one is activated. And this one is deactivated. So now in 48 seconds, when it transmits again, this one will deactivate and this one will activate. So it's a matter of, again, it's the same thing we've seen 3 times before. Toggling states or both following the exact same behavior. So I'll skip ahead. Transmitted. This pops off. And now this one is activated. And so on and so on. It'll just go back and forth every 48 seconds. So I've got S3 and S2 set to A. I'm going to reset. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use buttons only mode. But it's a little bit different than the linear actuator. I'm not going to go into program 4. I'm going to go back into receive modes. I'm going to press S1 twice. And I'm going to press S2 to select it. And so now the transmitter is waiting for a signal from the NRF24L01+, but we're not going to bother with that. We're just going to use the buttons for this mode. So by default, both are off. So I'll press S1. And S1 will activate this mag lock right here and deactivate this one. S2 will have the reverse effect. This one pops up, this one turns on. Now if we had S2 set to B, they would follow suit. So let's just do that. S2 is now set to B. I'll plug it in. I'm going to press S1 twice. 1, 2. We're in receive mode if I press S2. And now both are off. S1 pops them off. S2 will make them both activate. S1, S2, S1, and so there we go. Same thing as before, just based on the state of the S2 jumper. So I hope that's made a lot of sense. I hope that's made sense. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I realize it's been pretty long, but it's very easy to use. You can mess with the code. I wouldn't mess with any of the hardware, but this is a 12-volt system. Don't use 24-volt mag locks. Don't use 24-volt linear actuators. It wasn't designed for that. It's designed for 12 volts. So again, right now we're using this big bulky power supply, but for 2 relatively small mag locks like this, and the ones included with the Kickstarter, this is perfect. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'm not sure if the good Leroy Miller will be playing with this. If he is, thank you for making for playing around with him. He'll share some videos of whatever he comes up with on his YouTube channel. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great day.